I lost everything. Then I found myself. A story of love, betrayal, and redemption. I never thought I'd be sitting here telling this story. But here I am. My name is Clara, and this is the story of how I lost everything, and how I found myself in the process. It's not an easy story to tell, but it's one I need to share. It's a story about love, loss, betrayal, and ultimately redemption. It's a story about how I learned to rise from the ashes of my own life. I grew up in a small coastal town, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and secrets don't stay hidden for long. My parents were good people, but they struggled to make ends meet. My dad was a fisherman, and my mom worked at the local diner. We didn't have much, but we had each other, until we didn't. When I was 15, my dad's boat went out one morning and never came back. They found the wreckage a week later, but his body was never recovered. My mom fell apart after that. She started drinking, and I became the one who held everything together. I cooked, I cleaned, I made sure the bills got paid. But no matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. I felt like I was drowning and no one cared. At 18, I met him. Let's call him Daniel. Daniel was everything I thought I wanted. Charming, ambitious, and full of big dreams. He swept me off my feet, and within a year we were married. I thought he was my escape, my chance to start over. But I was wrong. For a while everything seemed perfect. Daniel had a good job, and we moved into a beautiful house in the city. I quit my job to focus on being a wife, and eventually a mother. We had 2 kids, Sophie and Liam, and for a time I thought I had it all. But behind closed doors, things were far from perfect. Daniel had a temper, and it didn't take long for him to start taking it out on me. At first, it was just words. Criticism, insults, little digs that chipped away at my confidence. But then, it escalated. The first time he hit me, I was too shocked to react. He apologized, promised it would never happen again, and I believed him. But it did happen again. And again. And again. I told myself I stayed for the kids. I didn't want them to grow up in a broken home like I did. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared of Daniel, scared of being alone, scared of failing. So I stayed, and I kept pretending everything was fine. One night everything changed. Daniel came home late, drunk and angry. I don't even remember what set him off, but before I knew it, he was screaming at me, throwing things, and then he hit me. Hard. Sophie, who was only 8 at the time, ran into the room and started crying. Daniel froze, and in that moment something inside me snapped. I packed a bag for me and the kids, and we left that night. I didn't know where we were going or what we would do, but I knew I couldn't stay. We spent the first few nights in a shelter, and then in the spare room of a friend's apartment. It was humiliating, but it was better than living in fear. Daniel didn't take it well. He harassed me, threatened me, and even showed up at the kids' school. I got a restraining order, but it didn't stop him. Then one day he disappeared. Just like that. No explanation, no goodbye. I didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. With Daniel gone, I had to figure out how to survive on my own. I got a job as a waitress, working double shifts just to make ends meet. It was exhausting, but it was also empowering. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my life. But it wasn't easy. The kids struggled with a sudden change, and I struggled with guilt. I kept asking myself if I'd done the right thing, if I'd failed them by not giving them a stable home. But I kept going one day at a time. Then one day I got a call from the police. Daniel had been found dead. He'd been living on the streets, addicted to drugs, and had overdosed. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me was relieved, but another part of me mourned the man he used to be. The man I thought he was. After Daniel's death, I thought I could finally move on. But then I found something that turned my world upside down. While going through some old paperwork, I discovered that Daniel had been hiding a secret life. He'd been embezzling money from his job, and he'd left behind a mountain of debt that I was now responsible for. I was devastated. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could he do this to us? How could he leave me to clean up his mess? I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't give up. Not now. Not after everything we'd been through. I decided to fight. I hired a lawyer, filed for bankruptcy, and started rebuilding my life from scratch. It was hard, so hard, but I refused to let Daniel's mistakes define me. I went back to school, got my degree, and started a new career. Took years, but slowly things started to get better. The kids grew up strong and resilient, and I couldn't be prouder of them. Sophie is now in college, studying to be a social worker, and Liam is a talented artist with a heart of gold. They've seen the worst of life, but they've also seen the best, the strength it takes to keep going no matter what. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see a woman who's been through hell and come out stronger on the other side. I see the scars, both physical and emotional, but I also see the resilience, the courage, and the love that got me through. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive Daniel for what he put us through, but I've made peace with it. I've learned that life isn't about the hand you're dealt, it's about how you play it. And I've played mine the best I could. So that's my story. It's not pretty, and it's not perfect, but it's mine. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that no matter how dark things get, there's always a way forward. You just have to keep going.